Hey, so I got a Disting NT in December. It was a Christmas present for my son. And I think at first I was a little intimidated by it because it has a lot of dimensions to it. So, being a programmer, I decided I was gonna spend a bunch of time learning the device by writing programs for it. So I started off by creating a small program to, I guess, control the Disting NT that I called NT Helper. And you see that on the left-hand side of the screen below the display. Um, it's effectively an application that uses sysx, MIDI sysx, to uh, talk to the NT system exclusive messages. And the protocol is well documented in the manuals. And so I started down that road. Made a bunch of feature requests of Oz from expert sleepers, and we have what we have today, which is, I think, a very rich protocol for controlling the NT. And yeah, you can do all kinds of things with it. Um, so this won't be really a demonstration of NT Helper, but you'll see me using it as I sort of fool around with this. Um, I'm going to kind of go in random order through the various programs and oscillators that I've ported to the NT platform. There's two different ways to make plugins. Well, three if you count the user interface scripts. But there's a Lua scripting language. Oh, and I forgot the other two. There's Faust. There's 3Pot, which uses spin programs. Um, I won't go into those because I haven't done any spin programs, but I have done Faust. The other thing is you can write C++ programs to add plugins. And what you're hearing very faintly in the background, and I'll turn up the volume in a minute, is my latest port of Elements from Mutable Instruments by Emily Gillet. And yeah, it's a modal synthesizer, very beautiful sounding, I think. It's just being run by sequenced by a arpeggio from KeyStep Pro, which you don't see. And the scope on the left in VCV rack is showing the output of it. It has a built-in reverb, and I'm running it through the Vostok Atlas filter in stereo. And so I'll just play with that for a moment. Yeah, I'll turn up the velocity. Right now the velocity is at minus 126, which I don't think does much. It goes from 0 to 127, I think. Yeah, so that's Elements. It has a character, that's for sure. Very, I don't know, organic sounding and beautiful. So I like that very much. What else have I built? All right, Ensemble Oscillator. It's a weird one. This one's based on the 4MS code. You can mess with twist. You can do crush pulsar. And you can warp it. This one's crazy for sound design. Right, so that's the Ensemble Oscillator running through a few effects, but we've also got some filtering going on from Atlas, but who wants to listen to raw stuff anyways, right? So yeah, that's that one. Let me work on getting something else going here. I'm gonna reboot this guy, I think. Just work on this a little bit. Okay. We'll just let it finish booting. So we'll try the CZ Dual Oscillator next. I'm just gonna mute it in case I'm just about to blow my eardrums off. Let's check this out. Failed to load. I wonder why that failed to load stuff is happening right now. Alright. Doesn't matter, we can load it here. this. Okay. This one just sounds amazing. And look at that waveform. Amazing. Yeah. So, took me a while. I'm still not sure what's going on with my system right now, but that's okay. This is the drum and bass sequencer that I wrote. Yeah, it it sounds like this. yeah. So anyway, that is the drum and bass sequencer. Let's move on. All right. I'm gonna just hook up NT Grids. This is also Mutable Instruments Emulator, ported pretty much directly from source code. Yeah, so this started here. I think the routing should likely go to aux1, aux2, aux3, and aux4. Input 1, and I think that should work. Let's see. A little bit fast. Let's take this down a notch or two. So Grids has a user interface that isn't very thrilling, but it shows the clock output, and you can change you're basically changing the density on the pots. And then X and Y can be changed on the encoders. And chaos is on the third pot, I think, if you press it and turn it. Honestly, can't remember. Oh, right. Chaos can be turned on and off. And I think, where is it? Yeah. So if you turn it on, you can press and turn encoder 3, or sorry, pot 3, and change the chaos level. So yeah, that's Grids. So I made a bunch of sequencers in Lua. This is the first one. How do I describe it? It generates a bunch of patterns, 20, of random CV and random gates. And you can change the threshold on the gates, so there'll be more gates or fewer gates, but still it will it effectively moves a threshold up and down. If I move this, you can see that the same gates appear because the pattern has a certain distribution of numbers. And you can switch to a different one, different gate patterns and so on. It's triggering because the first slot is either on or off, I guess. And the CV pattern is similar, and you can change the bit depth of that. So depending on the bit depth, you have more or fewer notes in the pattern. So if I start the clock, and then I can switch to another saved pattern and click the button, and it will start on the next one. It's basically when both sequences get to the one. So that's the AE sequencer. It's got 4 slots for patterns. You can reset or randomize the whole thing. Let's see. So encoder 1 selects the currently selected gate pattern. Encoder 2, the CV pattern. And the threshold is pot 1. And the bit depth is encoder 2. Encoder 3 is for selecting and launching patterns from the sidebar thing. And pressing encoder 2 will save a new pattern into a slot. It will always append, so it fills up the slots. So even if you're like up here and you press the encoder, it will put a new one in the bottom. And the newest one, if you run out of slots, the newest one will come on the bottom and the oldest one will fall off the top. So that's basically that. It is actually not quantized, so depending on your quantizer settings, so for example, if I change quantizer to D sharp minor, and then fiddle around with the bit depth a little bit, and increase the threshold. I'll turn the threshold down a little bit. So that's AE Sequencer. It was named after the fellow that asked for it. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, I'll move on to the next one. So the next sequencer is called GAN Sequencer. It's kind of interesting in that it has an evolution rate, a min and a max voltage, and inside of here you can change between the different sequences, and if you like a sequence, you can increase its fitness. So let's say we like that one, we can increase its fitness, and let's decrease the fitness of that one. Don't like it very much. Decrease the fitness of that one. And that one. And then you can hit evolve. I think it's encoder, the right encoder. And now it's actually created a new generation of patterns. And so you just keep fiddling around with it until you find patterns you like and increase their fitness and decrease the fitness of the ones you don't like, and then you hit the encoder and it'll create a new evolution, and so on and so on and so on, until you actually end up with sequences that sound good to you. It takes a while. Anyway, that one was kind of fun. Inside of here we also have a Chord Sequencer. I'll go through that later. I have to get that one set up. There's an L system sequencer. So this one is kind of interesting. It generates... How does this work now? It generates patterns based on L systems, which are little mathematical progressions that I don't know, it simulates branching structures like trees and stuff like that, plants. And if I remember right, all of these change everything. But they're changing the parameters slightly. Not exactly sure why this isn't actually producing output right now. Should be. Let me check the routing. Okay, clock and reset. Output 3 and output 4 are gate and pitch. Oh, they're backwards. Okay, I should be more consistent with this. Output 4, output 3, and a velocity output. Okay. So my pitch input is going through a quantizer, and it's really only hitting two notes in there. So let's just go straight in. I think this one's already quantized. And I'm gonna slow down the clock a little bit. All right, let's see if I can remember this one. Okay, so this is there's a scale in here. So this one's Prometheus. This is the root note. Okay. This one. And if I remember right, somewhere in here, so there's probabilities for, there's a velocity macro, a duration macro, and a probability mix. And then the number of iterations gives it more depth, however many. So I'm going to go to iterations of 5. And then I'm going to get out of Prometheus and go to like Phrygian dominant. So now you can see there's definitely more notes. And you can just sort of scoot through and find interesting patterns. So it's effectively a random pattern generator. But the interesting part about it is that they all sound sort of organic. I wonder why that's... I wonder why that's skipping out the first bunch. I'm confused by this, but yeah, so anyway, it's an L system sequencer. Maybe 5 is too long, but very cool. The next one we have on the list is I think this one's probably my favorite, this Markov Sequencer. And let's see if we can get something coming out of it. Is this backwards again? Let's just turn off some of these other inputs for regeneration, randomization, and I think gates should be 4, and this should be 3. Okay. It's kind of quiet. I think the gate length is pretty short on this. So what's interesting about this one is you can change the mutation rate, and it'll change quite a lot. But you can also slow the mutation rate down, change some of the other factors like emotion and jumpiness, and it will slowly mutate towards that. So things sort of change nice and slowly. It's great for ambient type sequences where you don't want people to be wondering like, oh, we're in a different place now. But eventually you will get to a different place, and so yeah, the randomization factors and stuff help you get there. This thing internally uses something called the Markov chain, and the Markov chains are effectively probabilities, note probabilities. So each of the scales has a different Markov chain, and gives it kind of its own flavor, which is kind of interesting. Let's see if I can get back out. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you can change the octave, you can change the range of notes, and the root note can be changed as well. And then jumpiness, and yeah, you can also randomize it. Or you can regenerate it. Anyway, I think it's just too high up right now. Let's pull it down. There we go. So, got a nice harmonic minor sequence. Let's go to Yakobushi. Yeah, so that's the Markov chain sequencer. So let's have a look at another. Let's go to Thorp. Thorp is a super weird sequencer. It's probably my most complicated one. And it's super hard to describe, but it has several pages. So it's got a pattern page, a scale page, a song page, and a slot page. And the idea is that you sequence arpeggios. So I think if it's working properly, I can just put a chord in. And so you can get an arpeggio going. Let's try adding that one as a slot. And then we'll go to slot 2. We'll put in a different set of notes. Save that. And then we'll go to slot 3. Add even more notes. And save that. And then if we go to the song page, we can say chain 1, then 2, then 3. 3 twice, and then a 1, and a 2, and then go into song mode. So we've got some CV going on here somewhere. Let's get rid of that. Take out the reset. yeah, that's Thorp. I like that one so much I named it after myself. The idea behind Soma is that it highlights the notes that are different from the notes in the major scale. So it compares each scale to the major scale and then gives it, it's effectively a stochastic sequencer. So it uses probabilities for the notes and so on. But it will accentuate the differences between major scale and minor, or major scale and the scale that you've chosen. So let's see if I can get this one going. So yeah, that's Soma. Chord Sequencer, it uses Markov chains to choose sort of interesting chord progressions based on analysis of different music genres. And so it, I don't know, it just has kind of an interesting character. So you can choose the scale and you can choose from a number of different matrices for the chord changes. And I've got it set up where I've got Disting NT is doing, what do you call it? Auto calibration. So I have the 2600, ARP 2600 M. It's the Korg version. It's doing the soprano, tenor, and alto. And I have Vostok Sena with the, I guess it's the sine wave as the bass. So I'll start up the sequencer. This is the bass coming in. All right. Whoa. Kind of got carried away there, but I'll edit something out. What else have I built? Wow. I'll show you the emulators. So, in order to build some of these fancy things, plugins, um, it we can either put it onto the SD card and test it out, and if there's a bug, you fix it, then put it on the SD card, and you keep doing that over and over again until you go completely insane. So what I've been doing instead is building emulators for both the C++ and the Lua APIs. And I'll just quickly go through those emulators. And yeah. All right, so I've been working on emulators, and in the foreground you can see the Disting NT Lua Emulator. It's written in Lua in a game engine called Love, and I don't know, it has all of the controls that you'd expect. You can set up a clock input. You can do drag and drop. So for example, if I wanted 5 there and 2 here, and then I set this one up to be the clock, you can change the outputs of your scripts to go to different outputs, and you can set up OSC and then receive it in another application. This is VCV Rack. Let's set up an oct here. OCH. And get some movement on this. Let's put this here, this one here, maybe that one there. And increase the volume of it. Yeah, so that's the Lua algorithm tester, which you can find on my GitHub. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording and I'll get the C++ one running. All right, so this is the, I don't know what you call it exactly, but this is the emulator. I'm calling it NT Emu. It's running the Elements Oscillator, and it works okay. You can long press this to get into a parameter menu style thing. Single press to get out. I've kind of spent all day on this. Maybe I'll stop now and edit something together. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. All right. Have a good one. Go out there. Make some music.